And those are important factors. And I mean, in studies from the Brooks Institute all the way to studies throughout the world have said and have shown that women have the ability to lead in a way, and a much more collective way in which men just simply don't. And you can call it, you know, physiological wiring, you can call it innate abilities, but the truth of the matter is that when it comes to politics, I think, you know, women tend to lead better, especially, I think, in a country where women leadership is recognized, important, and supported, as opposed to kind of first-time women being a president, perhaps like in the United States, where it's been a patriarchal society for a very long time, and trying to fight against those particular, you know, mindsets or mind frames. In terms of business, again, I would extend that same philosophy, is that women are very clear and very direct about what they want and how they want to get there, and are able to lead people in that direction. I'm certain that I have one of my really good friends who is one of the best dentists in the country, Joyce Katenga. She is leading a team and doing amazing work. Harvard grad, Tufts grad. She's amazing. And I think given the ability to expand that business, she would. I have another friend who runs a makeup company, Nelly Turkan, Pauline Cosmetics. Same thing.
She's doing a good job.
And she's leading a team of people and doing an amazing job. And I can name 15 more of those people that are doing amazing, 20 more of those women who are doing amazing things, leading teams, and leading to becoming national and international companies, and who are thinking about the whole. So they just don't go into work and think about it as a money-making engine. They go into it and they think about it.
Tekla agrees with you on that one quite a bit.
If they go into it and they think about how can we improve families' lives and making sure they have better dental care? How can we go and improve a woman's life to know that her black skin is beautiful by giving her makeup options that are best for her? So I think that those pieces, they think about these things in a way that I'm not
sure, man.
I don't know. I mean, I think oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes men think about it in a way of how can I make more money, and what are the best ways, not what's best for the community, not what's best for the environment, not what's best for the whole, but in a way in which how can I improve me and first and then my family second.
Tekla, let me get a reaction from you on that one. You think women are driven by more than just money in terms of everything that they seek to do, while men maybe it's just one line of thought?
I think we are more driven by love. While I agree with my sister, whereby men, they are thinking only me and my immediate family. You can see what's happening in this world today. Let me talk about Kenya. There are few people who are very rich. And then there are many people who have not much. And nobody think about these persons. And that person who have more, he intend again to
try and get more and more, and
get more
sort of
and more.
accumulate. Yes.
But when you see a woman, I'm a woman, and then I see her doesn't have much, that woman will extend a hand to assist her.
Absolutely.
To see that that family have something to eat. So I wish women can be given a better opportunities so that they can help to help other people.
You've actually taken me to my next question. So if it's clear that women can do not just what men can do, but even better, and if we look at society in terms of numbers, women make up, I think, 51% of the population, at least for the Kenyan scenario.
Kenya, yes.
Why is it still taking this much time to get that equal representation, both on the business front? Let's not even get into politics, which I know a lot of good things happened last year. But still, look at what Rwanda, look at what Uganda are doing. So why is it taking so long if these things are as clear as both of you say they are?
I think, you know what, let me talk as an athlete. We did not become a very international level.
Okay.
So we started on the ground. As much as I built myself to reach where I am, it has given me a lot of strength. So I think we are not that worried about Kenya, that why are we not
at the very top?
So we build ourselves from the ground.
Okay.
So at least we are solid.
Okay.
And there are many people learning from us.
Okay.
Then tomorrow say, okay, there are 100 women of Kenya doing ABCD, but down there is a big gap. And therefore, I just want to tell my sisters, let us not compare ourselves to other countries. But
let us not compare ourselves to other countries.
Let's work as
And in fact, as
ourselves.
you're talking, on the screen, we actually have the statistics from Rwanda and other places. But you're saying, let's look at Kenya as itself, you know, in its own, with its own
As
challenges.
we move ourselves from the ground to somewhere.
To where you need to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Nakia, do you agree?
Well, I mean, partly I do agree that it does have to be a grassroots movement in order for women to kind of have their seat at the table. But I think that that's directly tied to philosophy and kind of older models of what leadership looks like and what leadership should be. And I think once those mindsets starts to change and say a leader is someone who cares about this or that or a community, and not necessarily the sex of that leader, I think that you'll start to see kind of an equalizing and more women at the table and perhaps at the head of the table.
Tekla, let me come back to you. Your life, basically, if someone looks at your history, has been all about empowerment. You broke records. Then you went on to use your position to champion for peace. And also, I know you've also done quite some work against female genital mutilation, FGM. Do you feel that your efforts to bring peace, to rally people against FGM, have borne fruit? As you look back over the years, do you feel that before Tekla came into the space and when Tekla is gone, a big difference will have been felt?
I think we have a kind of like, we have improved something.
Okay.
When I started from West Pokot, who doesn't know what it means to come from West Pokot, it was difficult. And I had to break the wall. And when you talk about peace, the area was kind of conflict. As much as I start to run, they always say, okay, she comes from a conflict area. There is nothing good comes from her.
My goodness.
And therefore, I had to fight to realize that my community can be good people. But again, my community, we come from the border of Turkana, we come from the border of Marquette. Those are my communities again. So I was fighting the conflict between surrounding communities. And therefore, when Lena Kilimo came into power, for me, I can say that it was like a code sent.
Really?
Because this person comes from political side, I'm just an athlete, and therefore, it was kind of balanced. I was able to mobilize people in order that my sister to come and talk. Because when you are a politician, sometimes people doesn't come to listen to you. But when
because
you
of
have
political
yes,
sides, that's
so I think I did not fight alone, but I've been fighting with other women and also our leaders.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is a tough question, but I still need to ask it. How much harder do you feel you had to fight this battle because you were a woman? Do you think it made a difference?
There is one advantage.
I've seen Nakia's reaction.
There is one advantage of Pokot community.
Okay.
Whereby when you are a girl and you are a good person, they will in fact give you support more than even a man.
Okay.
And therefore, I was just fighting for that recognition to be a better person so that I can have a recognition. Which it happened.
It happened.
It happened. I was supported by my community. And therefore, I become like a role model whereby men tells, okay, we wish we have another man like Tekla.
Another man like Tekla.
But it happened one time that my father told me, I wish I had boys like you. I said, oh. So
your own father told you that?
Yes. So it means the balance of a girl and a boy is not all that.
It doesn't matter your gender.
Yeah.
It's what you do.
What you do. And therefore, this is something that just want also to encourage my sisters that let us fight as a women, and let us not be like men, but we can fight for our crown to reach somewhere.
Nakia, you had wanted to come in on that, but before that, I want to let our viewers know that you can weigh in on this conversation. 22422 is our SMS line. Let us know your thoughts about International Women's Day, what has gone well, what still needs to be worked on. And a lady here, you say, I'm a Maasai woman. Nawatakia Women's Day nzuri from Loitoktok. Mimi ni mwanamke anayetetea haki na pia kilio cha mwanamke wa Kimasai, breaking the chain of illiteracy in Maasai girls. Lakini najaribu kutuma wasichana wa Masai. Trying to understand a bit of that, but a message there from someone out there celebrating International Women's Day. 22422 is our SMS line. Use the hashtag CitizenExtra, and we'll be reading them as we carry on with the program. We have a few tweets. Let's play those now. All right, UN Resident Coordinator Siddharth Chatterjee says parity with women is the best driving force to economic growth, wealth creation, and poverty eradication. Let's press for progress, women's equality, and political participation. Now, let's put that up. This one should be from Julie Gishuru, media personality. She tweeted yesterday, gender parity is over 200 years away. We cannot be complacent. It's time to motivate, united, and act to achieve gender parity. And of course, she said that all women today should, and men as well, should share their views, learn, network, and be inspired to take strategic action. All right, our panel keeps growing. Let me now introduce Honorable Esther Passaris, Woman Rep, Nairobi County. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
International Women's Day. Happy International Women's Day to you. Your thoughts about this day?
I think we've come a long way as women, but again, we've got to press for progress. We have a long way to go. Yeah.
Okay. I want to touch briefly on your journey, and I look at and looking at your political journey. It's not been an easy one. You vied in Embakasi. You vied as a woman rep in 2013. At some point, you even vied for the position of mayor of Nairobi, I believe. What unique challenges would you say you faced as a woman in this particular journey?
I mean, I think in Embakasi, okay, first of all, the first one was mayor. Of course, the challenge there was government actually not gazetting my name and saying I owe the county money, the local government minister then, which was wrong because everybody owes the county government at any one point in their lives money. So I missed that opportunity. You know, sometimes when I sit down and I reflect, yeah, it was a technicality and basically taking advantage of a situation on a Friday night, you don't gazette me, Monday's the election, so that was the wrong. I feel that Nairobi was denied the chance of having a woman mayor at that particular time because I had the numbers at that time. I would have been the mayor on the Monday. Okay, but that's spilt milk. Can't cry about it. Embakasi, rigged elections, free, fair, credible elections. We're a long way to go. We need to have dialogue. We need to fix our electoral processes. 2013, a lot of, again, electoral malpractices, but also party wave. Kenyans seem to go for the party wave. We're still being sold on that. We go for personalities. We go for wave. We don't look at the ideology, the values, the issues. Manifestos is becoming the thing now that, you know, you promise us this, we want this. Sometimes I think
Kenyans took it very seriously last year.
Yeah, we did, and we said we wanted the computers, but we're having computers when we don't have electricity. We have computers when we can't give it to all our children. You know, we have computers when we don't have running water, we don't have teachers, we don't have books, we don't have classrooms. So, you know, and now I hear we want golf courses, and I say we don't have playgrounds. So, you know, we've got a long way to go, and I'm glad that, you know, we've grown by 2% in terms of elected women in parliament, from 7 to about 9 point something. We're still not there. We want to have elected women, but for that to happen, we need the electoral you know, the electoral financing of parties, political parties, requires that 30% goes into women agenda. I think as women, we have to actually press for progress in that 30% is actually put in a separate account, managed and run by women for women.
Before I come to Nakia, what sort of unique traits do you think women bring on the table? It could be on the business front, in politics as well. And this is a discussion we've been having the whole week here on Citizen Extra. Okay,
nurturing. We have, you know, by design, by God's design, we're nurturers. We bring forth the children. We are compassionate. We care.
Actually talked a bit about
we
that.
care automatically. You know, it's inbuilt. When a woman sees another child crying, she feels it. When a woman sees somebody hurt, she feels it. I think men can be indifferent, you know. So I feel that nurturing spirit puts us ahead. And, you know, right now, when you look at the Me Too campaign, where women were coming out and saying we've been sexually harassed or abused, etc. And rape. I mean, men don't even relate to rape. You know, they don't realize it's such a wrong. I mean, I was in a home in Dagoretti the other day, and I was looking at these children under 18. All have been raped by men. All right, impregnated. Having children, which is another social wrong. You know, you can't have a child of 13 giving birth, and then you've got these girls shaving their head and wearing boy clothes because they don't want to be beautiful. We have a lot of social wrong, and that social wrong can only be addressed by women coming out and actually trying to get men to be compassionate. Having said that...
Although there are a few compassionate men.
Very few. Very, very few. We need more. We need men to care because they have mothers, they have wives, they have daughters, they have sisters. When I sit with a parliamentarian and he's still advocating for FGM because he feels women should be controlled.
And this is something that's happened to you recently.
I mean, yeah, recently, of course, I was championing, I was standing up and saying no, because we've got a woman doctor going out and saying, let's, she's saying let's have it legalized in the way that you can have it in hospital. I don't believe that any woman who understands what FGM does would actually want to take herself to hospital to have it done to her. For what reason? Why would you want to curb yourself from having the enjoyment of sex, which was God-given, right? And let your men use you and misuse you or abuse you, while you don't feel anything but pain. You know, it is wrong. God made us with a clitoris, and we have it. And why should a man decide that it should be removed, and removed in such a gruesome way? You know, I mean, we had Sophia Noor talk about her experience and talk about the pain every time she gives birth, and talk about the fact that the enjoyment, you know, I mean, it's supposed to be a beautiful thing between men and women to bring forth a child. And here it is, men saying, no,
yeah,
women...
With all this, you still wonder why men would have the sort of perspective, the sort of comments that you get.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, I think we have a law. We have a law that says it is wrong. And it is a failure on the government not to make sure that that law is implemented to the fullest. The chiefs are failing us.
Okay. Like, yeah, come in. I'm sure you have a lot to respond to. Go ahead.
I mean, so I just wanted to kind of go back, and you asked my fellow panelists a question, which was, you know, how difficult is it to be a woman and kind of strive for those type of goals? So I think in all societies for women, particularly ones that are heavily patriarchal, it's quite difficult. I ran for office 3 times. I won twice in the United States on a local level, and it was a challenge, you know, just being a woman trying to run and kind of get your voice heard and make sure that you have votes. And you know, the intimidation was there, the sit down, be quiet was there.
Even in such an old democracy like in the United States.
Absolutely. It still exists. It's not that the United States is something that has grown, at least on local levels and state levels, are places, and let me be very clear, on national level as well. We saw it with Hillary Clinton when she was running for office. We saw it with Ferrera, who was also a Republican candidate, where she was called all kinds of names. Both of them were called all kinds of names during their campaign: ugly, stupid, haggard, pantsuit candidate. All of these epithets that were just unfortunate. And so I don't think that the political and let's be clear about this as well. When it came to Hillary Clinton, I mean, many of the voters didn't think that America was ready for a woman president. So it is not just an African problem, it's not just a Middle East problem. I think it's a universal problem throughout the world, where women are not seen as leaders in the way, and when we are seen as leaders, and when we do speak up and have our voices heard, we're called aggressive. We're called an epithet that starts with a B. We're called rude. We're called rough. And all of those things when we are leading a company, or if we are trying to get into a political process. And so for those women who are looking to run or looking to run a company, quiet the noise. Don't listen to it. Do what you need to do. Move forward. You're a woman. You're strong. You're sure about what you want to do. If you're educated, do it.
That seems to be the message this week. We've had these sort of discussions since Tuesday, and every woman who sat on this same table has said, quiet the noise. It's going to come from everywhere, including social media. Absolutely. But you have to find a way to move on. Tekla, let me bring you in on this. When Honorable Passaris was speaking about FGM, you were really sort of nodding your head. And I know this is something that you've taken quite passionately. You can give your thoughts now.
I really agree with my sister, Mheshimiwa, about the issue of women being mistreated. I was one time in a hospital called Ortum, whereby young girls gave birth and they were not able to do the other things. But the husband, they are not there. The people who are staying with those girls are their mothers, even not the mothers, the real mothers. So for me, I can say that it's a very bad situation, it's a bad thing anyway. Why do we have to mistreat our daughters? For me, like I have twins. I cannot treat the other twin to be a better one. And this is something that it is good for our society to say, let us protect our girls. Because at the end of the day, we are the source of life. Nobody, neither a man, can give birth like what a woman can do. Why not to embrace the power of a woman? Why not to help us so that we build society in a better way?
We've seen a very vigorous anti-FGM campaign over the last 10, 15 years. At home, have you seen a difference? Are people talking more about it?
Yeah,
Are they more open to,
now at the
different initiation
At the moment,
rights?
our matters, they are open because they have seen the pain. When a girl is giving birth, she's not ready to give birth. Plus, she has already been destroyed. And therefore, it has been a lot of changes. And we will continue, you know, a culture we cannot just destroy a day. And this is something that I also want to urge those who are campaigning about against FGM, that we need to look for a way whereby let us not be aggressive, let's be diplomatic as we know that what we are going to achieve to help our girls and our women who are doing such a things. So same thing to men, so they need to protect. Mheshimiwa Basare said about the issue whereby the girls are being raped. Nobody want to understand. And you can understand that even those who are doing such a bad things are grown-ups. They have daughters, they have sisters. And why is it that in the law of this country, nobody want to talk about if a person do such a things, why do we give bail to such a person? Instead of, for me, instead of putting that person in prison, there was an issue whereby it was this 2000, almost like 2000, I remember. Somebody from our region, I think it was Marquette side, a man he did something wrong. You know what the woman did? He was cut, and who cares? Yeah, because if you take this cup to the authority, tomorrow this man is out.
Okay, let me get a response from you before we get into politics again.
We haven't done enough. We said we have a gender desk to protect women. We haven't done enough. We've got laws. We are not implementing the laws. I think, you know, when you think about what happened with this girl recently in, I think it was in Mandera, the one who was raped by 3 men over 3 days. I'm wondering, what is happening to our men? And why do the communities think that they can negotiate cows and cattle and camels for this girl's pain? You know, I mean, I think the Muslim woman, according to the Quran, is supposed to be protected. And we're not protecting her. And when we say we want to hide the shame is not hers. The shame is the society. The shame is the men. It is not her shame. It is the society's shame. It is the shame of the country that doesn't have enough stringent laws, you know, that are implemented. Because there's no point in having a law and passing a law and then you're not implementing it. We have a law that says we should not have FGM, but we have it continuing. We have it in Kisii, we have it in Tharaka Nithi, in Meru, we have it in the northeastern counties. It is bad, it is wrong, and it's done by people who have been given the art over the years to cut and to sew and to tie. The whole idea is to make sure that that woman does not become promiscuous at a young age, and then who is going to tear it up? It's her husband. Her husband's going to be the one to tear it up on her wedding night. This old man that's been given this young bride. I mean, what kind of people are we? When God made a woman, he made her beautiful. He knew what he was doing.
You don't think we need more laws? We need to implement the laws that we currently have.
We need to implement the laws. We need to see arrests. We need to see harsh sentences. We need to scrap this business of bail. We need to put into jail anybody who does this musla thing, this negotiation of a cow or a cattle for a girl. And I know that my sister Geddy right now is under a lot of strain and stress because the men are telling her, why did you expose us? Celebrate her for exposing this wrong, because it could have been your daughter. Don't you care? It could have been your wife. When we allow such things to happen, so for me, the women are fighting for the women issues, and they should be celebrated. When we're thinking about who to put on the list of people that have commendation, besides Gideri and Gideriman and Robert Alai, let's think about these women who are fighting and protecting the woman. We've got women that are giving birth, they don't want the children. We've got women that are depressed and are in mental hospitals because, and then they cannot get NHIF covers. I mean, we've got a lot of rot. And women, we need to stick together because we need to have an issue-based politics where we actually address the issues that affect women, because they're saying the progress that when we say prosperous progress, for us to actually forge ahead, because we've actually gone back a bit maybe the gap is widened in terms of what we want as women, we'll need another 100 years. How can we make it, if we press forward, how can we make it, no, how can we make it 50 years? In 50 years that we achieve what we want instead of 100 years.
Okay. Nakia, coming to you, there's something that Tekla said where she in a sense alluded that there's been a very aggressive approach to feminism, but she felt that if we could also have another approach, which is diplomatic, that might get, you know, some sort of gains. And let me read you a study. I think Sky News did a study yesterday where they asked men if they felt that feminism had gone too far. And 40% of them said yes. Does the feminism or feminist movement need a rebrand in 2018?
I think you have to be clear about which feminist movement. Are you talking about the Western feminist movement? Or are you talking about the African feminist movement? I don't think the two...
Tell me what you think about both.
Well, I don't think that the two are the same. I think what feminists are asking for in places like the United States and the UK is complete and absolute equality. Pay equality.
50-50.
50-50 down the line. And don't think of me any less because I'm a woman. I think that's what's being asked for. I think in the African context, what I've seen, and certainly these women can probably speak about that better than I, is what they're asking for is, listen, we not only do we're okay with making sure that we take care of our home, we take care of our children, but we also want to be treated fairly when it comes to the boardroom, when it comes to politics, and we understand the dynamics of relationships of men and women. So we're not asking, at least from what I've heard, we're not asking for equal across the board, but we are asking or demanding in a lot of cases the equality of having the right to be in the boardroom, to have a seat at the political table and make those type of decisions. So I think that there are two separate brands, in my opinion, of feminism. One that is directly related to feminist, which has a lot to do with LGBT community, has a lot to do with the boardroom, equal pay, that's very different from the African context.
So because this was done in the United Kingdom, I'm guessing it's the Western form of feminism. Again, and let's be quite honest, Africa borrows a lot of what we're doing now in terms of reforms from what we've seen in the West. Even our constitution, we picked it up from different locations. So if we pick from the West and some in the West are saying, listen, could feminism be done a bit differently? Do you think there's need for that, or should the status quo remain in terms of the push for women's rights?
I think Africa is very unique. I think Kenya is very unique. And I think the smart thing that happens in Kenya is that they say, yes, there are Western beliefs and ideologies and laws that we like, but a lot of them we don't like. And so I think that there's a bit of picking out of necessity and out of cultural beliefs that kind of fall into line with what Kenyan places in Africa are doing, as opposed to kind of a boilerplate law. I mean, to be honest, let's talk about LBGT. That's not a law that's going to pass throughout Africa anytime soon.
I don't know if we've even had a discussion about that in the studio.
Right. So that's not a law that's going to pass in Africa, and quite frankly, anytime soon because of culturally held beliefs. But this is something in the United States and in the West that's incredibly important in laws that are passed. And particularly when it comes to the feminist movement, that's a really important component of it. So I think that there are different brands of feminism for different regions of the world.
Okay. Tekla, let me come to you. I don't know if you want to respond to her. Maybe I can give you a chance to do so before I ask you another question.
Okay, there is something that I only wanted to say, that we as African also, we should also be proud of ourselves. We should not be all the time borrowing many ideas from other countries, from other nations. We have our culture. How are we going to grow ourselves according to our culture? To make it better.
To make it better.
To make it better.
I also want to
let other people also borrow things
from us, because we have something that we can offer.
Yeah, we don't want to be all the time foreigners, so we do not have crown.
So how do you think the feminist movement in Africa should be, sort of like borrowing from both African culture and maybe where necessary from the West? How do you think we can tailor our own?
Okay, one thing, let's give education to our girls and boys.
Make that a priority?
Yeah, priority equal. Let's go down to the grassroots, help our women to value what they have, to understand that they are leaders in their own ways. And then from there, we'll have something strong in our community, in our country, and we can rise. When an African woman stands, she will stand as an African woman with her culture, with something that she can also sell. I want to tell about education. when I compare our kids with the other kids from outside, I'm sorry to say this, my sister, our kids are still have culture, honestly. So
you feel like those outside Africa
those outside
have lost,
also come, they
have lost their culture.
They have lost culture. So this is something also they can also come and borrow from our educational here. And therefore, we should not think that we are completely idiots, but we have to build our idioticity to be something better.
What I love about my panel today is I'm getting so many great ideas here and different perspectives. Honorable Passaris, let me come back to you. I'm sure you're tired of talking about the 2/3 gender constitutional requirement. I'm sure you've talked about this so much, but I'm still going to ask you again, why are we still not there? And I want to read your quote from Honorable Martha Karua. Last year, she was quoted as saying, the 2/3 rule could only be realized if women parliamentarians set aside their differences. I asked that question yesterday to Governor Laboso. She was here sitting right where you are, and Senator Dulo from Isiolo. They said no, they think women are united. I want to ask that same question to you. Are women in parliament united? Have they forged a common front in fighting for women's rights?
I think it's a myth that women are their own worst enemies and we are out to outdo each other. Fine, when we have competition, we compete. But when it comes to issues, I think we're united. The reason why we want the gender, the 2/3 gender, is because it's enshrined in our law. It is the law. You know, so we have to have the 2/3. Now, the political parties had the money, 30% to give to women issues and to bring more women forth. They didn't. So
is it the political party standing in the way?
Well, I think the political parties haven't driven it, and then also we haven't had enough ways to empower the woman to come in and compete favorably with the men. And that's why we're still at 10%. So right now, Parliament is not constituted well. We need to actually have the 2/3, and I would love to see those women brought in. You know, there's all this talk about where you're going to accommodate them. That's not our problem. I mean, when we press for progress, we're saying we have no apologies to make. If there is a problem of space, fix it. All right? I don't think it would have been a problem of space if it was men wanting more men. So we're saying that if you look at the countries that are governed well, they have 50-50 women. Rwanda is an example. So Kenya, we've said not more than 2/3. We need those women in parliament. We want those women. There are women that are there that can come in and fill in so many gaps. You know, we've got Tekla, we've got so many women. We've got so many women that can come in and fill in the gaps in all areas. And then we have more votes as women, as a block of women. So I think no apologies. And, you know, I want to add on to this feminist thing. For me, I feel, you know, whether we like it or not, our children are exposed. We have our traditions, we have our cultures, all right? But I will not want to say that everything that is negative in Africa, whether it's lesbianism or homosexuality or rape, you know, what we consider as negative was borrowed from the West. You know, when you think about biblical stories, Sodom and Gomorrah, it was there. So it is a question of religion, all right, coming out and teaching people, all right? But I've also come to realize that there are certain places where the Bible is very clear why we should not judge. It's because I have seen women or children born with two sex organs. And then at a certain age, their parents decided they should be girls, and yet they were boys, and then they move into that direction. So let's not be too quick to condemn, all right? I have a lot of friends who are gay. We do have gays in Kenya. And it's there. And then we've had them having demonstrations. I actually once went and demonstrated even with prostitutes on the road because they were saying that, you know, when we go and say we were raped because of what we're doing, right, we are condemned. So we have to have the Bill of Rights proper. We've put it in our constitution. We have to protect every citizen, all right, wherever they fall. And for me, it's not something that we are saying, oh, it's borrowed from the West. It is here. We have internet. We have social media. We have social grooming. We're mixing with other communities. So it is a question of, you know, the reality that we face. So when we have this reality, let us try and deal with it as honestly as we can possibly deal with it. Okay. Because it's a situation that is here. And for me, the feminist movement is not it's about women's rights. It's about the right to dress. When I was doing my Dress My Choice and I walked into a studio with a mini, everybody was saying, no, we want you to dress like Martha Karua and Charity Ngilu. And I said, sorry, I don't want the young girls who are wearing Western clothes brought in by Mitumbas, right, to be stripped because they're showing a bit of leg and skin. So for me, I think we need to understand that we're in an exposed society. Our cultures and traditions are dying. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here wearing what we are wearing. Me, I'd be with my tumbo out, with my makanga skirt, and you'd be having something else.
I think we get the picture.
Yeah.
We get the picture.
Yeah.
All right. Like here, I'm going to give you a chance to respond. Let me bring Nakane as well. I want to get your thoughts on the two-third gender. I don't want us to lose that. Because you're not in parliament, you know, I felt, even yesterday I asked the politicians here, you almost felt that they walked a particular line, but your thoughts on that and why it's taken so long, and one of the questions that someone has actually just asked is, when you have a majority of men as presidents and those who come about with policy, how can women expect something like that to be implemented?
Wow, that's a really powerful question. I think that well, good question in a number of ways, but I would challenge it and say that, you know, that's saying that men do not have the ability to see women as leaders, and I would say that men do have the ability to see that. Whether or not they have the political will is something completely different. So a man could see someone as a leader, but not necessarily have the will or the push to now open up doors for them and make sure that they're leaders. So in terms of the two-third rule, having worked with parliamentarians, senators, MCAs throughout Tharaka Nithi, Kissi, Maranga, and hearing their stories of how they were intimidated and how they were not supported by their community and their families, and how they were harassed. And so the question, it's a twofold question for me. One is, how is the law enforced, and is it supported? So when women like Honorable Presarius gets into office, or Martha Karua gets into office, are they supported in their seats? Are when the bill comes to the floor, is that bill supported? Or what do they have to do to make sure that they get, you know, the type of support and rally behind a particular bill or a particular legislation? So that's one question. The second question is, if you're being harassed, if you are being, you know, pushed, or your husband is being told something bad about you, why would you want to run? So I think those are two questions. So one is the pool of women who really want to run and not only have the kind of skill that it takes to kind of swim in these oceans, but also the financial support. So that's one pool. And then the second pool is, once they get into office, if they win, and once they get into the office, what type of support are they getting as, you know, legal or MPs or senators or MCAs? Are they getting the type of support that they need? And what do they do to make sure that that support is harnessed?
Okay, let me bring in Tekla on this. Tekla, because I don't want us to lose focus on where we are with this discussion, I can see that happening a little bit. I'll give you just 1 minute. If I know you wanted to respond to what she had to say, then I have another question for you.
I just want to add to what my sister said about women, why we are not so many in leadership. I just want to say, we are not electing ourselves, even those parliamentaries. But we as women, we need to unite, which we are not 100% united.
You feel that
Yes.
women are not 100% united?
Yeah, if we are united, and if we are doing good things to our own community, I'm telling you, the people who give votes are the people on the ground. One example, we've been having a lot of conflict in this country. I've not seen many of our women coming together and fight against such a bad things happening in this country. Look, for example, Ms. Kilimo. She was out of the parliament, but who cried at the community because of the work she did? And now she's back. I believe, my sister, that our women, let us not cry. We need to do extra. We need to take the pain as women. To be in that leadership, people will vote for us. And when we unite ourselves and do good things to our people, you don't have to say that these people come from West Pokot, let them fight.
You don't need to be divided on tribal
No.
lines.
A woman like Basaris can get hold of other women and go and fight evil things that's happening in our area, or what's happening in Mandera. But these are only men all the time. Parliamentary are going, these are the men only all the time. They do not have time to go and sit with the women who have the issues. But when women go together, our people, even men, will say, we are going to fight for Basaris to be our leader, to be our president. Nobody will say no. Sometimes the excuses we put is sometimes ourselves' fault. there are things that we need to accept.
Okay, okay. Honorable Pasaris, I want to take you back to May 2017. You were here in studio. You actually sat over there with Anne Kiguta, an interview about state of Nairobi as you were campaigning. And Anne Kiguta asked you about how you'd navigate the murky terrain of politics. And then the topic of ego came up. I even wish I had the clip. I wasn't able to get it on time. And she asked you how you're going to handle the egos of men when you get into office. And you said, and I quote, I've paraphrased this a little bit, that men's egos are the problem that women have to deal with even today. And especially when it comes to politics, many times as women parliamentarians, women leaders, you're forced to, in a sense, give the man the idea, let him propagate it as if it's his own, because that's the only way you're going to get progress. Do you still stand by those words? Is that the situation today? Is that how it's been for you in office, that you have great ideas, but you have to slip them under a man's desk or something and then hope that they'll implement them?
Do you know, I want every woman to learn and familiarize herself with narcissistic traits. Okay, narcissistic traits is what most men who are insecure
most men are insecure.
The men who are insecure,
okay.
The men who are insecure develop narcissistic traits. The men who are in power, the men who have money, develop narcissistic traits, where the ego now becomes it. They actually think and believe that they're God. They believe that they are your life force. You cannot survive without them. You cannot achieve anything. You need them. All right? So all I can say is men will always have egos because somehow they feel that they are the ones who are the head of the family. Biblically, they are the head of the family. Biblically, we are supposed as women to be submissive, but we're not supposed to be stupid. All right? Submissiveness means that when a man respects you, you respect him as the head of the family. When he respects himself, you then respect him as the head of the family. But when he is not respecting you or respecting himself, then I think you have a right to stand up and say, I'm sorry, this is it.
For women who are asking,
draw a line.
When am I submissive? When am I being, you've used the word, which I don't know if we can talk about on TV at this hour, but when am I being submissive and when am I going beyond that line? How do I know the difference for those who are watching, in your view?
Okay, when you're being submissive, okay, let me tell you what. We had the lady in whose hands were chopped off.
Yes.
And now I'm glad she's picked up her life and she's moved on and she's had a baby and, you know, she's married. What was happening is at that particular point in time in her life, she obviously had a very dominating man. A man who had a lot of narcissistic traits. He was very controlling, all right? She was like property. And when she wasn't towing the rope, right, then obviously she went to the church, she tried to complain, she says this guy is abusive, this guy is not nice, but then they told her, you know what, stay. So she did not actually say, no, enough is enough. There has to be an enough is enough line. You have to actually think about your safety, you have to think about your rights as a child of God. You're not supposed to be pinned down and abused by anyone, you know. So for me, I think it's important that a woman draws the line on where am I allowed to go with this, all right? There are lots of abused women, gender-based violence. Do you have to stay until you die?
They say that 1 in every 5 girls who's between 10 to 19 is either pregnant or I think, or has a child already. Some statistics I read yesterday. So you're right in that there are a lot of challenges that women are dealing with, and especially young women. That statistic shocked me.
Yeah, I mean, you know, yeah, we definitely need to talk about family planning. I mean, I'm Catholic, but I also believe that we have to plan our families, and I'm glad that the Pope made it very clear that we have to plan our families. We've got a 22-year-old who just lost 3 of her children in Kariobangi. 22-year-old, she has 3 children from 7 to 1. They died in a grisly fire in the house, but and she's pregnant again. She's 6 months pregnant. For me, at 22, already having 4 children, that means you're not family planning, and you can't even afford. She couldn't even afford to send the firstborn that she had to primary school. So we have to plan our families. We have to get economically empowered, because if we don't plan our families, we're not economically empowered. Then we get married to somebody who has narcissistic traits, who is led by his ego. Then you're going to suffer.
That's how it all
then you're
goes
going to
wrong.
suffer. Yeah.
Nakia, let me get your response and your final thoughts. If you have a message to women on International Women's Day, here is an appropriate platform to give that out.
Sure. I mean, my thoughts. I think, you know, that's I don't necessarily agree on all points, because I think, you know, particularly like the woman who hands were chopped off by her husband, she had no other support. There was nowhere else for her to go, so she left and went where? And I think in some of these instances where people or where women stay in really horrible situations, they're thinking about where can I go and who's going to support me after I do that. She went to her mom and her dad, they said go back. She went to the church, they said go back. She went to the community elders, they said go back. So where was she supposed to go at this point? So I think that we have to have also a fair conversation and not just say, if there's a line and you just need to leave and go where. Unless there's some type of support that women can find or some type of support that's out there for women to go and have
maybe that's a
shelters,
conversation that we need to be having.
And have shelters to have that type of support and nurturing that they need in a time of crisis. Then I think we can have fairer conversations. In terms of women, and for Women's Day, you know, I am a big Sheryl Sandberg fan, and I say lean in. I say lean in. You know, if there's an opportunity for you to have a leadership position, do it and do your best at it. If someone offers you a job and they are trying to lowball you, negotiate. Never take the first call. Never take the first offer. You always negotiate for what you want. And if you have the opportunity, negotiate for your community as well. I'm a true believer in that. I'm a true believer in not taking the first offer just because, oh my God, I can't believe that this person is going to hire me or this company is going to hire me, and I should just
fear.
Just because of fear.
Okay.
And men, regardless of whether or not they have the criteria, they have the education, they have the knowledge or the experience, they always negotiate because they always believe
that they're the best.
Yeah, because they're the best, and because there is society throughout the world that supports that, that supports that sense of confidence and that sense of ability to ask that. It's not the same for women.
Okay, we actually had a Sheryl Sandberg quote. Hopefully we'll put that up at some point. Tekla, I can give you a chance to give your final thought, your message to women out there on this day.
I just want to tell my sisters that let's empower our girls, our boys, because these are our leaders for tomorrow. And to be strong as an African woman are also other women in the whole world. We have the same situation. You are a woman, you are a woman. But we are better than the word a woman because we are the source of life. So let's stay and protect our communities. Let's protect our leaders. Let's tell our husbands and brothers to talk about peace because today our children in schools, they are not safe. If we can only disarm the mind of our men, they will disarm their egos. And they can protect us. So let's unite together.
Okay, thank you for that. Honorable Pasaris, you sit here representing all the women in this very populated county of Nairobi. What message would you want to send out to them today?
I mean, first of all, I think, I pray that the gender, the 2/3 gender is implemented. And that's the call that I've seen today from the U.S. Embassy to seed the UN. Why do we need that? You know, so that we have the support systems for the women. We need we have the orphanages, we have the shelters,
safe
you know,
homes.
we have the training. We need that. We don't have it. A lot of women stay in their abused marriages because they cannot find an alternative. So we need to create those safe spaces. The men have not done it all these years. So put us there and let us do that for you. And that's a big challenge. Today, I want to say that I want to celebrate the women that are in the informal settlements, the ones that have absolutely nothing, but every single day they get up, they try and sell their little wares, they try and keep the family together, they try and protect their children, because there's a lot of suffering. And I want to say to the government that the women who constitute over 50% of our population are suffering and they want help. When their husbands are in hospital, when their children are in hospital, when they can't afford Medicare, when the woman, yesterday there was a woman who trekked for 16 hours trying to find a hospital to have cesarean. We need to fix the problems because they impact and affect women. So I celebrate all those strong women, and I say to the ones that are actually gliding through life today, or they're not having the hardship that the ones in the informal settlements have, I will be coming to you, because we have to lift the woman. And when we lift the woman and we empower the woman, we will actually lift the entire community and our society, our counties and our country. So we need women to come together and work together. And we really need the implementation of the 2/3 gender bill. Press for progress, it's not negotiable.
We're looking up to you and all the women out there who are in leadership to push for that.
Yes.
The pressure is on you, and of course to everyone watching to lobby in whichever way they can. Very honest conversation we've had here in studio. Thank you so much, Honorable Esther Passaris, Woman Rep Nairobi, Tekla Lurupe, renowned international track and athletics icon, of course, Nakia White, MD Global Ladder, for finding time to be here and for opening up about the issues that women are facing in 2018. We'll take a quick break. You're watching Citizen Extra. So many messages, by the way. I don't know if I have time to read one. Someone says, I'm a Meru girl, wishing all women International Women's Day. Someone here applauding Esther Passaris. They say you're a real woman of the society. You sponsored the education. And my siblings, right now, I'm a police officer. Have a happy Women's Day, but you don't give us your name. So I guess, I don't know if you remember who that is. Another person, okay, I'm going to give you some of these messages. Some people are really, as a woman, I celebrate Honorable Passaris to rescue a woman who was disabled and crawled with her child on her back, begging next to Huruma Estate, Eastleigh. This is Simiyu. And a question for you, Esther. My question to you is, Passaris, I voted for you on this Women's Day. Say one thing you have done to improve the lives of women. Happy Women's Day.
One thing. Oh, wow.
Keep it one thing.
You know what? Connecting.
Okay.
Okay, connecting with the issues. When I went into Kenyatta National Hospital and I saw a woman crying and saying that I want to go home, I want to spend Christmas and New Year with my family, I made a social media appeal and 500 patients were released to go home. I actually said to the president, no New Year's bash. We don't need a New Year's bash. There was no New Year's bash. 58 million shillings was written off. Patients went home and had Christmas with their families. I touched a lot of lives.
You lobbied for that?
I lobbied for that single-handedly on social media, and I got it.
Okay. I think you don't tell us your name, but there's your response. Let's take that break now. We'll be right back.